We continue now at the top of Daf Chof Tesamid Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 29b. And the previous Amud Mar Zutra said that in general, when a person makes a chazakah, he doesn't have to bring evidence that he was there day and night. As long as he brings general evidence that he was there for 3 years, that is sufficient. However, Mar Zutra said if the person making the protest actually says, I want you to prove that you were there day and night, then the person would have to prove he was there day and night. And the Gemara now says, Umodi Mar Zutra. Now Mar Zutra would admit, Baruch Lan HaMachzirin Bayoros. Let's say the person making the protest is a peddler who goes around different cities, and the point over here is that he's away from his house a lot. It's very easy for someone to just take possession of his house when he's not there. So there already, Daf Agav Delo Toan, even though the peddler doesn't make that claim, Taninon Le'anon, we would make that claim on his behalf. We want to help him in making his claims in that situation. And the Gemara continues, Umod Rav Huna, and Rav Huna admits, Rav Huna is the one that says that in general you need to have consecutive chazakah day and night, but he would admit, Bechanusa de Mechuza, let's say you have these stores of Mechuza, de Liyamama Avida, that they're generally open during the day, but Lelel Yelo Avida, but they're not made to run at night, so there you don't have to establish the chazakah at night as well. And the Gemara continues, Rami Bar Chama v'Ravukva Bar Chama Zovun Hahiyamsa v'Hade Hadadi. Rami Bar Chama and Ravukva Bar Chama, they bought a particular maidservant together. They were partners. Marish Tamish Bo Rishona Shlishis v'Chamishis, one used her for the first, third, and fifth year. Umarish Tamish Bo Shni Revius v'Shishis, the other one used her for the second, fourth, and sixth year, meaning to say they used her in alternating years. Nafak Ira Love, and then there was a protest against her. Somebody said, I'm the actual owner, you took her from me, and she was not actually purchased properly. Asul Lakame de Rava, they came before Rava, they wanted to know whether they can establish a chazakah. Neither one of them actually had a consecutive 3-year chazakah, but together as partners they did have 3 consecutive years. Amar Louis said to them, my time avdisu hachi, why did you do this? Why did you alternate years? Ki echi de lo techziko hadadi, you did it so that you shouldn't make a chazakah against each other. Ki echi de lididchu lo have a chazakah, just like it's not a chazakah for you, one against the other. Li'al manami lo have a chazakah, it's also not a chazakah against others, and therefore you do not have a chazakah in this case. You would need to have evidence of a document. But the Gemara says, V'lo amrnel de lo kasav itra. Now that's only true if they didn't write an itra. An itra would be a document, essentially a partnership showing that they are partners together. Aval kasav itra, but if there was an itra that was written, kala islay, then the word would go out that they're effectively in partnership, and then they actually could establish the chazakah 3 consecutive years as partners. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Achla kula, let's say a person is using all of the land, establishing a chazakah on all of the land, chutz mi beis rova, except for a beis rova, a small portion of the land that he's not using. So kana kula, so he'll acquire all of it, chutz mi beis rova, except for that beis rova, meaning to say, the part of the land that he's not using, he doesn't really establish a chazakah upon. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua, Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yoshua, says, V'lo amran, that's only true, ela de bar zriyahi, if that little parcel of land was something that you could plant on. Avolav bar zriyahi, let's say it was a piece of land that you couldn't plant on anyway, there was nothing to do with it, so then kanila agavara, then he'll acquire that land together with the rest of the land. He will make a chazakah on the entire property. The Gemara continues, Ma'askeflor Bevi Barabai, or if Bivi Barabai asks on this, Elameat, according to that logic, Tsunma, let's say a person has a rocky piece of land that you can't plant on at all. How can you acquire it? How can you make a chazakah? You're going to say there's no chazakah there at all because you can't plant? Of course there's a chazakah. Obviously he makes a chazakah through other uses. He stands his animals on it. He spreads out his fruits over there. But if that's the case, Hachanami, here also where you have a small part of the land, you can't use it in one fashion, but you should use it in the other ways. He should stand animals there, or he should spread his produce over there. And the Gemara continues, there was a person who said to his friend, my boys b'hai beisa, what are you doing in this house? The house that you're in, it actually belongs to me. Amarle said to him, I bought it from you. And I was here at the years of chazakah, I've established a chazakah, and therefore it's mine. Amarle said to him, I was b'shchuni gavoy. Some translate that to mean that I was far away, I was distant, I couldn't lodge a protest because I wasn't aware. We'll see Rashbam in a moment, his explanation. In any case, Asal Akami de Rav Nachman, he came before Rav Nachman. Amarle said to him, Zil borachi losach. Rav Nachman said, you have to prove that you were really there the years of chazakah. You have to bring evidence that you have a chazakah. Amarle Rava said back to him, he said to Rav Nachman, Hachi Dina, is that really the halacha? He has to prove that he has a chazakah. On the contrary, Hamotzi mechaver all of araya. The person who's trying to take away the land, he's the motzi, he's taking taking it away, he needs to bring the evidence that the person doesn't have a chazaka. And so you have a machlokus over here of Nachman and Rava, who's the one that needs to bring the evidence. And the Gemara says, V'rami d'Rava ad Rava, V'rami d'Rav Nachman ad Rav Nachman. We have a contradiction between Rava, what Rava says here, and what Rava says elsewhere, and the same with Rav Nachman. Dahu, because there was a case. And we'll take a look at the Rashbam over here. The Rashbam says, Amar le Ma'arer, the person protesting, he said, Ana b'shchuni gavoy hava. I was b'shchuni gavoy. Rashbam says it means b'chadorim hapnimim haisa ikor dirasi. I was living in the inner rooms, is the way he explains. Vayisi over derech alecha. I was always passing you. Umeshtamishim beis hachitz, and I was then using the outer part with you. Shadar debo, where you were living, b'rshusi, with my permission. Ulakach lo machisi. That's why I didn't make a protest, because essentially I didn't need a protest because of this situation, and so therefore this is not a good chazaka that you're establishing. So Amar le lamachzik, sort of Nachman said to the machzik, zil borach ilosach. You have to prove it. Have edim shadarta bebayis levancha gimel shanim below also. You have to bring proof, witnesses that you lived in this house by yourself without him. Sheboimach kedin kol cheskas gimel shanim. That's like any halach of cheskas gimel shanim. Shetzarach lavi edim shehechzik ba chazaka gemura. You have to bring witnesses they had a real chazaka. And so Rava said back, is that true? Hamotzi mechavero. We should say hamotzi mechavero. Dahainu mocher. The seller should be the one that has to bring the evidence. Sharei lokeach mochsa, because the buyer already has a chazaka. All of lema'arer lohavi rayesh and ishtamishimo. He should have to bring a proof that he was using it together with him, meaning he should have to bring evidence that the chazaka that this person had was not a good chazaka. Usvira le Rava. Now Rava holds the kevan sharo edim lazaham mochsak shenishtamish bo shalosh shanim. Since we have here witnesses that he was there using it 3 years, ein lanu locha shema gamze haya imo. So in this case, we don't have to be concerned that maybe this other person was with him. Hoel velo shamano bilti hayom, because we never heard such a thing until today, and so therefore he's already established that he's been here 3 years. That is sufficient. Now it's the other person that has to prove that the chazak is not good because he was together with him. And the Rashbam also notes, now this whole case, lo mesukam ela kashaya lo edus lama'ar debayis shelo haya. It only is going to work this case if the person protesting has witnesses that originally he owned this house. Alva below edus, let's say he has no witnesses that he was even the original owner, so then afilu Rav Nachman modi, then even Rav Nachman would admit the hamachzik neman, that the person who has the chazaka is believed below riot. He would not have to bring any evidence to his chazaka, because there you'd have a whole different reason to believe him. Because the same mouth that forbade it is the same mouth that permitted it. Meaning, di boy amr, if he wanted, he could have an even better claim. He could have said, shalihu me'olam, that it's been mine forever and you never were an owner of this house. So kiyamar nami minach zevinta mehem, and so when he says, I bought it from you, he is believed. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Amud Aleph.